So I just saw Dune Part 2, and man, was it not good. Unfortunately, I'm going to be one of the people that really did not like this movie at all, despite it getting lots of high scores, but my opinion is my opinion, and you have your own as well. I think it's important to know that when it came to the first Dune, I also really didn't like it as much. I didn't really think the story was done well. I wasn't interested in the characters, the plot, the writing. I really thought the visuals and the musics and the set pieces was done really well, but overall I'd give it a 5 out of 10 because it's standing on its own 2 feet. I just don't really like it that much. Overall, it just feels like a collection of scenes just happening, and I guess we as the audience are just supposed to care about it. And I never really watched the original Dune movie or read the original book before watching part 1, and I still left the movie really not enjoying it or even being interested in the story at all. To me, it feels like it's trying way too hard to be so convoluted and so confusing, and in reality, it's just really not good in my opinion. So when it came to the second Dune movie, I wanted to give it a fair chance, and I even rewatched the first movie as well as read up on the book a good amount and even looked up on the lore, so I was kept informed without getting spoiled on too much. Let's just say, like history repeating itself, it really didn't help at all because I did not like this film at all. There was a lot of things that I did like about the movie, specifically the music, the set pieces, the art, and the action that was happening, especially the acting. Where this movie falls short to me is in the characters and the story and the writing, and to me those are really important to nail down. Because I can get over a movie having some lame camera shots or some weird editing, but if the story itself and the characters are done, I can give this a fair chance and give it a good score. But because those are actually the worst parts of the movie, I can't really give this higher than what I did. And again, I did a lot of research, and I even took time to know and understand the story of Dune. I don't know what it is. I guess Dune just isn't for me, but I am not interested in this franchise as a film. I'm sure I can like it when it comes to the video games or if I read more of the book, because it is interesting to know about and learn, but since I am judging this film as its own thing, I just do not like it at all, and I do not like what they do. To start things off, I just really don't like the story that's being told with this film. We have the story of Paul, whose family was killed, or mainly his father and a lot of the army, by the Empire of the Dune universe because he was afraid of them gaining too much power, so he had the Harkonnens, who owned the spice planet Dune, or whatever it's called, give it to the Atreides family so they can then backstab them, because that was the most logical thing to do. And so Paul ran away, and then he found the Freemen, which are the people of the Dune planet, and is seeking revenge, which basically that sums up Dune Part 1. And now Paul is teaming up with a bunch of Freemen and going on these adventures, and it is foretold that Paul is some sort of messiah to the Freemen people of Dune, so he works with those people to basically take back the planet and free them and bring the people of the Dune planet, or the Freemen, to paradise, basically. If you don't know, this is very similar to Christianity, which I did like, but it really didn't help me enjoy the film anymore. If a film's story reminds me of another story, that really isn't a good thing, because then that just shows what the hell is this movie even doing? How is it different? And I just, for the love of God, could not care about the story at all. So many times in the movie, it just feels like the plot got switched up to just go for this fetch quest and go to this other place. All right, now we got to go to this place, or we got to stop what we're doing so Paul can train. And then we go to the Empire, and then we're going to fight the people of the Empire, the Harkonnens, and all the other people who are using their jetpacks. And then we're then going to make the king bow to us. And then that's really all that happens in this film. There's really no point of me explaining the plot of the movie, because for the love of God, I cannot really remember it, because so much was just happening, and the focus of the film just kept shifting so many times to the point where it wasn't even confusing. It was just too much to handle, where it's like, is everything in this movie going to be resolved? Like, did we really need to have scenes of some of the people that we had? It's weird, because I would say this story is confusing, but also not confusing if you really think about it. It's just really simple, but they add so much to it to make it convoluted, and I guess to some people that's good, but to me, I don't like that. If I have to remember 30 other plot lines and 30 other things just to be like, oh, that makes sense, I just don't like that. Oppenheimer sort of did it the same way, but not to the degree and extreme that Dune does it. I really have nothing else to say about the story. Like I said, it's sucks. I don't like it. It's not interesting. I wouldn't say it's boring. It's just not interesting at all. And this movie really loves to just edge its fans because it's like, don't worry, guys. What's coming up next is going to be so amazing. And then after that, it's going to be even more crazy. But don't worry. If you don't like that, just watch Dune Part 3. Because also, spoiler alert, there's a Dune Part 3, which... no surprise there, there's like 10 of these books, so of course there's going to be more stories to tell. But oh my god, the ending of this movie was just not satisfying at all. Moving on to the characters, I really don't care about each and every character at all because there is nothing to really like about them. I think Paul is probably the best character in this movie because the movie focuses on him way too much and pretty much only him. The movie tries to focus on Paul's mom because she now has to be some type of sacred mother and hold all this knowledge, but she really just tells fortunes, and she has a baby in the movie, and she has to drink the water of life, which I guess reveals the past and gives more powers. And Paul also needed to drink that. That's more about the story. But yeah, Paul's the only character in this entire film, and even he's not even that great. He's fine as a character, but he's very basic. Like, yeah, he wants to free a bunch of people, and he wants to learn about them as well, and he wants to live a life with one of the girls from these people because he loves her. But that's like super basic in my opinion. Oh really? You're a nice guy who just wants peace and order, and you want to have a happy, loving life? Wow, I've never met anyone else in the world who is just like that. I guess he's nice, and he's a good fighter, and he's strong and resourceful and a good learner. That's just all I got. That's all I can even think of when it comes to Paul as a character. And yeah, the mom, nothing really interesting. Shawnee, which is performed by Zendaya or whatever her name is, also really didn't do anything spectacular. I kind of like the love relationship that they were going with Paul and Shawnee, but it really doesn't matter because eventually Paul just did not give a shit about her, but it was mainly to protect her. As far as I know, I think she did a fine job in the first half of the movie where she was being with Paul and helping him out to learn the ways of the desert, but pretty much as the movie went on, she became more and more irrelevant. Thanos' actor survived and I guess has a agreement where he can still be a soldier and work for the people of Dune as long as he's, I don't know, he's just alive. And Paul doesn't kill him, even though there was a moment where Paul was defending off the Dune or the spice collectors and he killed a few of the men, and it was like, oh, I recognize it was you from your footsteps, because he said that in the first film. And he's like, you're fine, you don't have to die. But everyone else that Paul was killing is just fine, whatever. I get it, he's family, well, not even family, there's just a good friend, so, yeah. The main villain of the Harkonnen, I believe it's pronounced, whatever they're called, they're just really bad. Like, there's nothing menacing about these villains because they're just fat, bald people who just bathe all the time and kill the waitresses. Yeah, that's definitely not edgy at all. Like it's trying hard to be like, I'm a villain because I kill innocent people. Ha 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 ha. You also just know nothing about these characters. The main one who fights Paul at the end of the movie, I guess, wants to be an honorable soldier and take control of Dune and make sure the war is going good against the Freeman people because it's basically Harkonnens versus the Fremen, and he has a duel also in the movie because it's his birthday, or I think it's the other fat guy's birthday, but he has an arena fight to celebrate his self, and he gets to fight drugged men from the first movie who are injured, and he gets to have a shield fully health. And also there's like 8 other people surrounding them, so it's like, why the fuck are people interested in this person? It's like, of course you're going to win. Like, anyone could fucking kill those guys, and one of them wasn't drugged, and apparently that was a challenge for him, but I guess it doesn't matter because he eventually just kills him, and I don't know. It's like, this guy is supposed to be powerful and strong, but he can easily be beat if you really try hard enough, and like, you're deprived of, you know, food and water because it seems like these guys didn't eat or drink, like they were slaves. Drax's character was also stupid, and I don't understand. This is probably the worst role he has taken in his entire career, in my opinion. At least with the movie Knock at the Cabin Woods, we got to know about the character and what he wanted. Same thing with the other brother. Like, we don't really know what the fuck this character wants or anything about them or their goals. They're just evil for the sake of being evil, and they take orders from the Empire, but they themselves have nothing original and creative or unique. There's nothing about them. Like, they're just evil people. And then we move on to the Empire, and they finally show him in this movie because they didn't show him in the first movie, and he's just a simple old guy just observing everything and taking orders, or like, not taking orders, he's demanding people to do things, and he demanded the Harricans to basically kill the Atreides family because he was afraid of them getting powerful and overthrowing him. But instead of thinking about what he could do, he decided to do what was going to cause him to basically lose the throne. I kind of hate that in movies where it's like they know what's going to happen in the future, or at least they're worried about something happening in the future, and instead of thinking things out rationally, they just go with their instincts and just go ahead. I know Madam Web did that with its main villain, and I know it's really impossible to like think of something before acting on it, but like it's also a stupid plan. Having the Harkonnen give up the spice planet to the Atreides just to backstab them while they're weak and in a planet they're not used to. I just don't think that's a really good plan, in my opinion. I feel like there's way better ways to kill this family, but then again, the Atreides family has a really strong military and they're really powerful and rich. And who knows, I could be getting a lot of shit wrong. Maybe there's something I'm just forgetting or I just don't know, but it's not my fault because this film refuses to like actually give explanations to things happening. Things just happen and you have to accept it. I don't know who owned the Spice Planet before, but basically, yeah, it went to the Atreides family and then back to the Harkonnens. Then there's Stog something, the other main leader of the Fremen people that Paul meets up with. He pretty much doesn't do anything but basically becomes Paul's first-hand man and just, you know, trains him to be a Fremen. And there's some really cool scenes with him where he's, you know, actually showing Paul the ropes of everything and making him an honorary member of the Fremen. But that's really it. Halfway through the movie, it pretty much becomes irrelevant to anyone but Paul and the whole entire enemy nation. That's really all I'm gonna say about the characters. They don't work for me. I don't get it. I really don't. I don't like them. They're not interesting. I don't know anything about them. They just suck, in my opinion. To move on, the writing with this movie just wasn't really that good, in my opinion. Like, yeah, things happened, but like, there really wasn't anything interesting to tie them together or, you know, connect them to something else. Because to me, this movie just feels like a collection of scenes. Like, it's like a documentary. It's like I'm reading up on the history and the lore of the Dune planet. Nothing about it is interesting. That is honestly how I feel about this movie. It's just a documentary or some type of textbook that is being written out. It's just boring. So boring. There's a few times where people go from talking in their native tongue to then English, so that was very inconsistent. This movie pretty much took place on the Dune planet, which I guess was easy to film, but there was some moment where they added a CGI ocean to the Dune planet, and where they probably just went to a beach. There was this other planet that was black and white, and visually that was pretty interesting, but the audience looked at like CGI, and I'm pretty sure it was. Maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But that planet pretty much only was in the arena, and then they showed the army a little bit. And then there was a lot of sections where they were like in the, you know, dungeons of the Dune planet, like the underground sections inside the mountains. Those are all pretty interesting, though it was very confusing to keep track of which was the north and which was the south. Alright, time to talk about something I liked. I liked the music a lot. It was done pretty well. The art design was also pretty good. The cinematography and the camera shots was done, and the editing and visually just how things played out with the whole set pieces with the action and the wars and the battles. Those are all done pretty well. And that's really all I gotta say. Like I mentioned earlier, those things in this film that are really good can only do so much to me when it comes to a film. I mentioned this probably earlier, but this honestly just felt like a video game. I was just watching things happen and set pieces go into place. I was watching events happen, but I did not give a shit about the character or how things would change. I wasn't on the edge of my seat being like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next, because at the end of the movie, it's like, no, we're going into the Holy War, so can't wait for 2 more years to go by to watch Dune Part 3. That's all I really have to say about this movie. Very disappointing. I don't understand how people love this movie so much and are giving it 8s and 9s out of 10. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 because it just simply failed on the biggest things that a film needs to do to be really great or at least good. But I can't say that this movie is good. I wouldn't even say it's okay. I would just say it's slightly above average. That's really honestly like, that is super generous because I cannot give this a 7 out of 10. I'd really love to know what people enjoyed about this movie. Like, feel free to let me know in the comments, because I just really want to know why so many people love this movie, because there are some people that I know of that loved the first one and thought it was fantastic, and I just thought to myself, like, what the fuck were you guys enjoying? Do you guys just like when a big screen has like events happening and characters doing stuff and moving? Because if that's the case, you could just play video games and get the same experience. When I watch a film, I'm hoping to be told a story that's done really well with characters that I really like and can relate to in a setting that's also just amazing and done really well visually. I cannot say that about Dune Part 2. I just cannot. Yeah, 6 out of 10, that's all I'm gonna say. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? Am I the one who's stupid because I didn't read all the books and don't have a knowledge? That's another thing. If you have to read the books to know every single thing about the movie and not be confused, you've pretty much failed as a film. Because then what the fuck does that mean for the film on its own? Anyway, that's all I gotta say.